Look, at least promise me you won't drink. Alcohol always leads to trouble.
I've asked this question to other longtime brewers, and it's always interesting to hear so from where you started to now, what's the thing that you would say has been you've seen the biggest change within industry that has either surprised you or you weren't expecting?
You just want one thing?
You can as many as you
Go
want.
ahead, give us.
I mean, however many you want.
It's your time too. We're here to learn.
The thing that's most fresh in my mind was something I was showing Paul in the office before you guys showed up. A brewery doing frozen beer slushy pouches to go.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen this in the wine industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
They're
frozen,
doing it
like,
beer
like
now?
freezing it,
Beer
put it
now,
into
yeah.
a plastic pouch and
Yeah.
selling it to go from a brewery frozen beer in a pouch with a straw.
That's awesome.
Like a
No,
beer
no
chill.
kids, that one's not for you. That's dad.
That was totally.
Don't mind me and my Slurpee. We're fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I never thought I'd see shit like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I'm at the point. Nothing's. I think
It's
the
hard to be
the
surprised.
last
Yeah.
5 years have been so surprising that whatever comes out these days, you're just like, everybody's just throwing shit at the wall and trying to
much.
see what
That's what it
sticks.
feels like.
You
That's
know,
what it feels like.
yeah.
Absolutely.
and some things work, some things don't. Like I was out at another brewery about a week ago, and I was drinking a beer that had cake batter in it, and first 2 sips were actually before I knew what it was, I was like, what is going on? Like, this is interesting, tasty, but it just wasn't quite working for me, and then my head brewer told me what it was, and I was like, that's what's going on. And then by halfway through it, I couldn't, I was like, this is weird.
yeah, just a little too much.
That doesn't mean that consumers don't want it. That doesn't mean that it's not a saleable product. That just means it doesn't work for me.
Right.
But like some of the shit we're throwing into beers these days, like cake batter.
I mean, do you think
How do you-
that's just
breakfast cereals?
Yeah.
Is that just
Breakfast
people?
cereal, the Lucky Charms.
Is that people trying to find their spot, like trying to find a way to stand out, or like is it
Yeah,
like
exactly.
throwing it up on the wall, seeing hopefully
You know,
it sticks?
I think it started as shock value,
Exactly.
and
That's
then
what
it
I think.
sold,
Yeah.
and then it became a thing, I guess.
But sometimes it feels like breweries just follow the trend as long as it's the trend, and then
There's definitely some
they,
of that, and
and then
you
they
know,
let it go. They find the next thing.
I'm not saying that our hands are clean on that either, but at some point when there's a trend going, and this is the talk that we've had more so recently than early on, is when your consumers are asking you for something, that's what we're here for. We're a beverage producer, and we make things that we like. We make beers that we drink. But sometimes when you're constantly hearing, you guys got to make one of these. You guys got to make one of these. Okay, let's do it.
Is the trends that are out there, this just throwing shit at the wall to see what's going to stick. As a consumer and as a podcast, I almost feel like sometimes it's overwhelming to understand the variety that's out there. Do you guys feel that way as brewers? Like, is it an overwhelming feeling like, oh my God, this brewery's doing that? What are we going to do? Do we need to stand out? Do we need to do something like this?
In my personal feelings there's so much noise in the marketplace that to stand out and be one of those heavily sought after big breweries right now is damn near impossible. I mean, Central Waters is always we're gonna have our carve out, we're gonna have our fans, we're gonna continue to produce, a lot of quality beer and continually mix in new stuff and the biggest thing for us is pushing ourselves constantly, like I said at the beginning, like we can do better. And this is a big year for us, releasing 9 new brands, that are just kind of one-offs, but they've worked through the pilot systems, and then now they're coming out into full production and getting labeled and canned. And
Yeah.
But
You want to talk about those? Like, what are the?
the
what's on, like-
Tangerine was
Okay.
the first one to come out this year.
Perfect.
Yep.
Can't wait to get it.
I want to drink that for breakfast.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and so our head brewer basically spends all of his time working on a 3-barrel pilot system, which we've quickly realized that it's not a big enough pilot system.
Yeah.
So we're in the process right now of pulling in bids to upgrade that to a 7-barrel system. So our pilot system is going to be the same size as most breweries' brew houses. You know,
Same size as our very first brew house.
same size as
I
our
was gonna
first.
say, it's
Yeah.
what you bigger, it's the same size as what you started with. Yeah.
But you know, when you're cranking off 3-barrel batches, you're selling through them so fast in the tap room. So you know, let's make sure this is worth our while. And you know, when you're piloting things, it's not that things are bad. It's just there could be room for improvement, or maybe not. You know, so you got to try little tweaks. You know, and on a smaller system like that, you can do that. With a 50-barrel brew house, by the time you hit that baby, she's got to be dialed in.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that has proven to be one of the best playgrounds that we've ever implemented. And it puts us, you know, that puts us on the same playground as a lot of these other small breweries that are grabbing a lot of attention, you know. So, yeah, we're cranking through beers constantly on the 50-barrel brew house, but now we're going to pilot all these things. And, you know, I think right now we probably have 7 different experimental beers on our 24 draft lines, you know. So just constantly trying to crank out new stuff and see what we like, you know. And the biggest thing is, what do we like, you know, because we're not going to release a beer that we don't like, you know. I mean,
How much feedback do you take when you evaluate that? Do you look at customers walking in?
I'll be honest with you. We look at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you take it with a grain of salt, you know, because you always got the guy who says, well, I hate Pilsners, but this one's a good representation, 2.5, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, when you read the online reviews, oh, man.
Yeah.
Don't-
Yeah, you got to stay.
No,
you got to stay
I
off that
stopped,
shit.
yeah, I stopped reading that stuff.
But do we ignore them? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is good feedback.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I spend a lot of time in the market now. That's my main role here. So when I'm out there, I'm directly engaged with customers, with bar owners, with liquor store owners. I'm looking at, every time I go into a store, I'm looking at what's moving for you from us, what's moving for you from other people, what's the price points at. If there's something new that comes out, I'm usually one of the first ones to see it.
Yeah.
You know, and I bring that feedback back and we work with it. I mean, you know, we just had a talk last week. We're watching Crew Drive. You know, it's a brand new season. We've never made a Pilsner before, and it's a brooded Pilsner. And I'm seeing the sales of it. And I'm like, man, this is a fucking awesome beer. This is this is a beer that I think should go into our year-round portfolio. And that's a discussion now. Like,
But that's like
okay,
the next
well,
step, right?
If it goes into
Yeah.
that, what comes out? Because you can't just keep throwing new shit into your
Right.
portfolio. You have to take
Yeah.
something out.
Sure.
And that's not an easy decision to make. You know, and it's especially for a first-year beer.
Right.
You know, so it's like, okay, so do we let
And-
this
and if
one
this-
go
yeah.
and then come back at it again next year, and then is the magic lost by the time you hit that, or do you know those are
Yeah, do you have to
not
ramp it
easy
back up
decisions to
again?
make.
Yeah, that's difficult.
and the problem is that these days, if we're going to kill a brand, one of those brands is probably 21 years old.
Oh, 100%. I know exactly
Wow.
what
Yeah,
it would be.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I love that
Do you,
beer. So
do you want to kill a 21-year-old brand and gamble, you know?
Yeah.
something that's been around for 2 months.
Sure. Yeah, and you're going to have fans that are of that brand, and they're going to be like,
Some
"Yo,
of
what
that
the
sales
hell?"
is just that it's new. Has
Some
there,
of it is that it's new. It's a little early still to see what your true velocity is. You kind of
Right.
need some history of sales to see.
do
that.
any stick out to you over the years that have really either succeeded that you didn't think would succeed, or even failed that you thought were fantastic beers but just didn't get that traction?
This year, the beer that I knew would be popular, but I didn't think it would be as huge as it was the mango milkshake. When we came out with mango milkshake, I knew it would be popular, but I didn't think it would be popular to the point of liquor stores doling it out 1 can at a time, 12-ounce cans, because we don't do 16s in the market.
Right.
So rather than selling it as a 6-pack, liquor stores were selling it as 1 can per customer and selling out in 20 minutes.
Wow.
I was not expecting that type of
Were
reaction.
they marketing it up?
Yeah, we don't have any controllers. It's actually
Yeah.
against the law for us to have any say in that. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
We set wholesale rates,
Sure.
and
And
then
after that, we
it
don't
goes
have
to our
any control.
distributor. Our distributor then distributes to retailers. We have no control or input on that.
Is that state or federal?
Well, both, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some. Yeah, we have a suggested price to retailer.
Okay.
But the wholesalers do not have to comply by that.
Gotcha.
That's true for every brand.
Mango milkshake.
But you know, in terms of an older brand, that it's one of my favorite beers that we've ever made is Oktoberfest. I mean, it seems like every brand, every brewery that makes one, it's usually their best-selling seasonal.
Yeah.
But for us, it's huge. You know, we make a lot of Oktoberfest every year, and we sell out every year. So that's one example of an older brand that I knew would always stick around, but I didn't think it would grow to the level it's at now.
And in the same respect, you have brands that die. You know? I mean, it's brands that are, you know, like the brown ale is a perfect example, or the Hefeweizen. You know, like Whitewater Hefeweizen was our true German Hefe. You know, that we started brewing. Early 90s. It was released right when I started, so it would have been mid '98, and that beer was fantastic. Sold really well. But as craft beer developed, Hefeweizens just started to
Nobody
tank.
wants a Weizen. Yeah. Like if you put out a Weizen or, to his point, a brown ale.
Yeah.
I love the brown ale. We call it Junktown Brown because we're in Junction City. And
it's a
that
great
beer was
name.
Awesome.
It is a great name.
Nutty and malty, and what a great beer that was. But now, like, it's like it would be like pulling teeth trying to sell a brown ale right now.
Oh yeah, nobody would want it.
There's,
you know?
there's no panache to a brown ale. It's just it's just an old
Brown
standard
ale.
now.
Yeah.
Well,
and I feel like we might be coming back to some of it, like the Kolsch. Like 5 years ago, you wouldn't be able to sell Kolsch. You know, now I think we're starting to come back a little bit on some of that stuff, but at the same time, someone's going to put, I don't know, fucking Fruity Pebbles in a Kolsch. You know?
Pretty cold.
Don't say we're never going to do something. Otherwise, I'm going to come back on Monday.
I know.
Time to start piloting.
I'm going to see a Captain Crunch beer from Central Waters.
You would
Crunch
love
Kolsch?
that.
I think something to understand though.
Captain Crunch is his favorite cereal, so if it happens, we
I will buy it.
will drive here on a Monday.
I'll get